In this video, I'm going to show you 7 ways that you can teach dynamics in music. Hi, my name is Julia from Julia Teaching Resources, and I love teaching dynamics in music. It's a really important part of making music sound great, but it can be a little bit tricky to teach. That's why I've come up with 7 fun ways you can help your students understand and learn dynamics quickly. So sit back, relax, and let me show you how it's done. Seven fun lesson ideas for teaching dynamics in music. Welcome. In this video, I'll show you 7 fun ways to teach dynamics in music. And I'll also give you some suggested resources to use to make it a bit easier for you. Number 1, dynamics card games. Okay, you know if you've been watching some of my videos, you know I love playing games and learning definitions using cards. I find it's a very active way to learn. It's a very fun hands-on way to learn. And also if you're doing it in group work, the kids get to talk to each other and they learn from each other so much more than just learning from me talking up the front. Okay, so with this definition memory game, you can set it up a few different ways. I have a video over on with about texture. If you go and check out texture games, same sort of ideas, you can apply them using any of the elements of music, but dynamics. So 2 of my favorite games are, the first one is I have the dynamics terms displayed on my interactive whiteboard, and then I have the cards all set out, and I get the kids just to match the cards first, face up, just play, not really a game as such, but just making sure that they can match them up. Do that a couple of times so you can actually do it the fastest, and then I let them play memory. So they flip all the cards, mix them up, and they have to take turns flipping 2 cards over. If the cards match, they get to keep them, and if they don't match, they flip them back over and the next student takes a go. And at the end, whoever's got the most cards wins. Now, the beautiful thing about this, I use this with like grades 7 to 12, and I was doing this recently. I mean, my grade 12s are just finished, but as a revision lesson, just a bit of a light, easy revision lesson, and the kids loved playing them. And I've got one student in my class this year who struggles learning things, and what my beautiful kids who are more able, they certainly they helped her go, this one and this one, and you'll get a match, so that she didn't feel she was left out. And they were really helpful and very it was beautiful, actually, a lovely lesson playing this game. I said grade 12, but you can play it with younger years, you can play it with older years, it doesn't matter how old. It's just a great way, either as revision, as I was doing then, but also for learning the terms in the first place. Number 2, drumming with dynamics. Now, you don't have to all have a drum kit, okay? I just like the image, I thought it was cute. But this is a fun circle game. So firstly, what I would do is get the kids in a circle. You can have them sitting or standing, it doesn't matter, but keeping a steady beat. So whether they clap the beat or tap it on their thighs, okay, on their knees. So it's up to you what you want to do. And you have a couple of instruments go around the circle, and then someone in the middle is making it go louder or softer, conducting, okay? And the group has to follow. Do that a couple of times, add more instruments in, all that sort of stuff, until everybody's got an instrument, and then see how you go. Problem is, if you give everybody an instrument, especially if they're younger students, it could go a bit crazy. Been there, done that. Don't do that to yourself. So make sure you give them and build up to that. This is a really good one with bucket drumming, and also any sort of percussion instruments. Just a good way to get them to play soft and to play loud, and also keeping that steady beat, because as you would probably know as a music teacher, if you want kids to get louder, they naturally get faster. So the whole idea is to keep that steady beat but get louder at the same time, instead of going crazy, 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 which does happen. I can guarantee you it will happen, because it does. All right, this one, visualizing with dynamics. So instead of performing this time, you're getting them to actually listen to a piece of music with the dynamics. So you are performing this time. That's the next one. Get myself confused. With this one, put different dynamic levels, lines on the board. Now, depending on the age of the kids, you could talk about that the line higher on the board is fortissimo, and the line lower on the board is pianissimo, and anything in between. Sorry about my phone. Anything in between. And then get them to play a piece of music they're familiar with. So I wouldn't do this if you're learning the piece of music. Make sure it's something they know. So if you're playing ukuleles, guitars, keyboards, buckets, whatever it happens to be, the recorders, whatever. Okay. And when they're playing the song, point to a dynamic level and change it and point to it. And so they've got to follow you and follow that. And again, you could use get other kids in the class to actually be the dynamic person who chooses which one they're going to play. And it's fun. It's just a fun way to actually connect, again, louds and softs with what they're actually doing, because they've got to be able to do it. Number 4. So before I forget, now that particular image you can see there is over in the blog post for dynamics in music, elements of music, over at juliajulia.com. You'll be able to find that, and you can find that image, nice and easy to use. But you can experiment with dynamics. So this one, again, have students move their hands to show the dynamic level being performed. So this one's for listening. I got myself a bit confused before. So this one's for listening. So put on a piece of music and get them to move their hand when the dynamics change. Okay. Now, if you've got younger kids, you might want them to actually all stand around the room. And then if it's really quiet, get them to crouch down. And if it's really loud, they've got to put their hands up in the air, depending on the kids. Like your kids, and what age you're pitching this at. But good pieces of music, a couple of ones I would suggest is In the Hall of the Mountain King. Okay. That certainly starts soft and gets louder. Or the one that from Strauss that they used for the 2001 Space Odyssey music movie, the theme song. Dun, 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 bum, 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 bum. Okay, so sorry, my bad version of it, but you know the one I'm talking about. Okay, and that one is a really good one to actually practice making the dynamic level changes, and the kids will have fun, especially if you're getting them up and being active, starting soft, getting loud, starting soft. So they've got to listen. Okay, it's good fun. Next one, to move it on from what you were just doing. So you've listened to it, you've made it connection, you made it physical. This time is actually writing about it. So active listening, have your students study the use of dynamics in a piece of music. Now, if you are doing film music and at the time of recording, this is Halloween, and maybe you're looking at Halloween theme songs from different movies, or actually horror movies, because they use, scary music and dynamics really well. Have a think about actually analyzing a piece of music. So if I said to my kids, go write something about dynamics, they'll go, not doing it. And I'll like, yeah, it's easy. But if I say, okay, here's a list of questions. When you're listening to this piece of music, I want you to answer these as you hear the piece of music. They go, oh, okay, I can do that. And so again, if you just say to them, just go do it, they'll struggle. But if you give them something to actually scaffold it out, they'll be able to do it. Again, I've got some resources to share with you, which are perfect for this, so that you don't have to make or reinvent the wheel, because I've done it for you. But if you're focusing their questions, it's a great thing. This makes a really good assignment. It's good written work. It's good for checking their actual understanding in that written form, because they're not necessarily doing this as a group. Next one, dynamics music chart. I love these. I love representing anything visually and physically. You probably should know that by now. But listening to a piece of music and chart the dynamics. So again, that 2001 A Space Odyssey piece of music is fantastic for this, because there's so many different changes, and it's a great way for the kids to see, oh my goodness, it goes like this, and the chart could be really, really long. But also great for cross-curricular activities. So you could then talk about, well, where else would you see a chart like this? Oh, we could see that in math. We could see that in science. We could see that in geography. We could see that all over the place. So again, a great way to actually introduce other things from music and help kids to understand that music isn't just music. Music is such a universal thing, and there's so many skills that we use in music that come into our subject that can be used elsewhere. So again, just a good way to graphically represent it. Easy, you can see that I've actually done this on a particular song, and it's a nice way to do it. But again, you could do it with any piece of music. It doesn't have to be 2001 A Space Odyssey. It can be any piece of music that you are studying in class. I'll go back to this one. This would be really good if you had two versions of the same song, and graph them out. Okay, you might even have one group doing one song, one group doing another, and then compare the actual charts and see what's different, what's similar. Just in saying that, it's a good way, again, another way to get dynamics and being active with the dynamics and using the activities. And my last one, number 7, is composing with dynamics. Look, it depends on what technology you have available. Now, I'm going to be honest. I've only had laptops available for me to use in my own classroom this year, and I've been teaching for 20-something years. And the thing is, even though 10, 15 years ago, every kid had a laptop here in Australia, that was one of those pushes from the government, the programs that weren't available for these kids to use to do a lot of composing, but now there is. Okay, so if you've got iPads available, GarageBand's perfect. If you've got if you're using laptops, okay, or Chromebooks or whatever, BandLab, okay, if you use the EDU site, or Soundtrap if you have a subscription. Any of those programs, you can actually do changes in dynamics. So getting kids to compose, again, it might be a familiar song, and you get them to change it, or you get them to play the song and you get them to change the dynamics that as they're playing it. Okay, so different ways you can actually do it. So it depends if you want them to perform and play using dynamics and changing them up, or if you want them actually to compose. All right, so it's up to you which way you want to do it. But either way, it's a great activity, and especially if you're doing the composition and you give them a framework and say, everybody must use blah, 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 give them actually a set of things, and then say, you know, you must have a loud section, a decrescendo, a crescendo, a softer section, and then see how the kids actually use the same parameters and come up with something different. You'll be surprised that every kid would be able to come up with something different. Okay, it never ceases to amaze me that you give them the same framework and everything, their creativity is endless, boundless. It's amazing. So let's give you some resources to use so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Right, as I said, there's free resources over on my blog, and also if you're watching this either on Facebook, there's videos here in my Facebook channel, Facebook video, page, or over on my YouTube channel. If you're watching this on YouTube, there's stacks of videos on the elements of music. But there's one on on what is dynamics, so you can go and have a look at different ways to actually engage with the content, whether you want to read it or whether you want to actually watch it. But I talk about dynamics and what they actually all are over there. If you're looking for a way to get your kids to actually define dynamics and get them to understand what dynamics are and what the terms are, then have a look at the dynamics in music definition worksheets. There's a lot of variety, a lot of ways to get the kids actually engaging with what are dynamics in music. And I was talking about these earlier. These are the dynamics cards. Don't forget, they look like that because you got to print them, you cut them out, you laminate them, and then use them forever. And I have to say, I've had a lot of my card sets for probably 10, 15 years, and they're still fine. There's nothing wrong with them. And that's the thing. It does take a bit to set up in the beginning, but if you're early in your career, you'll have these forever. It does take a while, but honestly, you won't have to do it again once you've got the sets. It's great. Then in this one is a dynamics of music listening sheet. So when I was talking about active listening and applying what the kids have learnt by listening and hearing and being able to write about the dynamics, these particular worksheets, there's stacks. So there's ones that have got like just one set of questions, and then there's ones that you can do comparisons, okay, and easier questions, harder questions, and then there's ways to look at similarities, differences, unity, contrast, all that sort of stuff, okay, in these actual worksheet sets. So you can find plenty of classroom resources, even more. I've got even more over there than what I've talked about today over my Teachers Pay Teachers store. You can use the link, if you look there, go to Teachers Pay Teachers and type in do your teaching resources and you'll find me. Heaps of stuff. And don't forget, if you'd like a free copy of the Elements of Music Mind Maps, which I haven't talked about mind maps today, but that's another perfect lesson for mapping out and understanding elements of music and especially dynamics. And as always, you can find more information over my blog on the Elements of Music at juliagiu.com, but also here on the YouTube channel or on my Facebook page, depending on where you're actually watching. So until next time, I better stop share. Until next time, as I said, there's stacks of things you can do for teaching dynamics. Until next time, I'm Julia from Julia Teaching Resources. Happy teaching. Bye.